first off, black men just writ large, 6% of the population of the entire country. You just gave a number on the 3%
Exactly.
of the actual voting population in that metric. So yes, our votes matter and our votes do count. Because again, a lot of this is going to be done on and in the margins. We turn out high in larger cities and sit in places that we're at. We know that it will likely go to Madam Vice President will become the president.
Hey Posse, welcome to the Roundup with Rodney and Rodney on the Black Man's Roundtable. I'm Rodney Littles.
I'm Rodney Butler. Hey, Rodney, early voting has started in the state of Georgia. I've early
Mm-hmm.
voted, and I think you have early voted.
Yes,
How was your
sir.
experience, man?
Well, the wife and my grandson went on the first day.
Family
She got
affair.
the first day family affair, and there was about close to 300 folks that voted at my early voting location. And by the end of the day, Georgia has set a record turnout.
Yes, sir.
Unbelievable, over 300,000 first day,
Actually, I think it doubled more than doubled
more than double. Yes,
the
sir.
old record, which was back in
Right.
2020, which I think
Yes,
was
sir.
121,000, 141,000, something like
In
that.
that neighborhood, yeah.
In that neighborhood, but either way, it
More
doubled
than double.
it doubled it more than doubled the
Yeah,
record.
bro.
So,
Yeah, bro. It was great. It was great.
I hope that bodes well for, for the people and who they want to win this election. I'll just put it that
Amen.
way. And
Amen.
so yeah, man, we these polls, like they said, polls are for strippers. So we'll see.
Amen.
We shall
Amen.
see. All right, Rodney, what we
Amen.
got tonight, brother?
Well, we got Bobby X Fryer from the Politics Corner from Black Man's Roundtable.
All right, let's get Bobby. Let's get Bobby in here. What's up, Mr. Fryer?
Hey, gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Doing
That's my
pretty
man.
good, man. Doing pretty good, Bobby. We was talking about having a chance to vote. Have you have a chance to early vote yet, or you? Go ahead, Bobby.
Oh, yes, sir. We went on Wednesday. My wife and I, we got in and out in about 10 minutes. Didn't take long at all. We followed up on our kids to find out when they're going, so they're expected to go tomorrow. Not wasting any time with this thing. No need to think about who I'm voting for. No need to need any policy laid out that's already been laid out, to make a decision. So, yes, I'm done.
Absolutely, man. And hey, here's the bottom line. If you're still waiting, you still need some more stuff. I just think you need some attention.
Yeah,
That's where I'm at with it, Bobby.
I think you're an
Oh,
unserious
man.
voter. I don't think
I'm
you're a serious
serious.
voter.
Right.
Totally
Yeah.
unserious. Bobby, what you got for us tonight?
Hey, listen, so a couple things real quick about the early voting. Early voting, as you mentioned earlier, runs from now until November 1st. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is October 25th. Just want to make sure we give out those important dates for anyone that may not know. That is the deadline for your absentee ballot is October the 25th. And of course, election day is November 5th. If you choose to vote on election day, it is November 5th. I don't know why people would even get confused about a different date. It's always the first Tuesday in November. It's an easy way to remember it. Okay. So anybody out there, if you hear November 6th, or if you hear November the 7th or the 4th, it's Tuesday. Okay. The first Tuesday in November. All right. So just to go over that real quick. And as you know, I commend our Vice President Kamala Harris for the amount of interviews that she's doing. She's leaving no stone unturned. If anyone has been paying attention, she's done interviews with 60 Minutes. She's done it with Howard Stern. She's done it a town hall with Charlemagne. She's done Call Her Daddy. She's done Roland Martin. She's done All the Smoke. And most recently, she did Fox News. And if you got a chance to check out any of that interview, I thought she stood her ground well. I think she handled herself well.
Yeah.
She called him out in real time about something that Donald Trump had said, and I know what it was about using the military against our own citizens and making all these different threats. And they played a clip that was not showing that. It was showing something else, and she called him out for it in real time, Brett Baer. So, I commend her on the amount of interviews that she's doing, and she's leaving no stone unturned, as I said before. She's just trying to do as much as she can. And people forget she's only been a nominee for 3 months.
Tell me about it.
This is not a typical campaign that she's running. So she's had to pick up, run full speed. And remember, the complaint at first was, oh, she hasn't done any interviews. And this was even before the convention even happened. So,
Right.
So it just gave people something just to whine and complain about the amount of interviews. And so there's two things most recently. If you're unaware, Donald Trump staged a serving fries at McDonald's or serving food at McDonald's. Okay, this was staged, it just got me thinking. You have to be a completely or a grossly, totally insecure person that you are so triggered that you got a fake working at McDonald's. McDonald's. We're not talking about the Ritz-Carlton somewhere or, working at some famous chef's restaurant. McDonald's, something she worked at 40 plus years ago while she was in college. And you still get people out there questioning, well, did she really work there and all this kind of stuff? It's amazing the amount of rabbit holes people will chase down over nothing. But you have to be a completely insecure person. If you're running for the highest office in the world and you're so triggered about whether or not she worked at McDonald's, that's pathetic, okay? But it's no surprise. And most recently, there's an article that's been going around about, and I hate to really even talk about it because it's very sad if it's true. But they're reporting supposedly from the Atlantic, I believe is one of them, that alleges that when Donald Trump was given the cost for the funeral for Vanessa Guillen, who was horribly raped and killed at Fort Hood in 2020. He did meet with the family and all that kind of stuff, but allegedly these are coming from military service personnel as well as Republicans, that when the invoice came in for her funeral, which was about $60,000, let's just say he made some disparaging remarks about burying her. And he specifically referred to her race, which was Mexican. So if that story is true, okay, because I don't want to give it oxygen if the story is not 100% correct, but let's face it, with him, there's nothing that would surprise me about him saying or doing something disparaging against another race, and in this instance, also a veteran. So this is, I just cringe at people's thoughts now on your decision making. And I just think it just boils down to one thing. If you got a problem voting for a woman, just say it. Just say it. Stop with the, I need to hear more policy. She's laid out her policy. Hillary Clinton laid out a bunch of policy, okay? It's not about policy. And if you need to know about her policies, if you don't know by now, you have not been paying attention. I had a frat brother on social media was telling me that he talked to a friend of his and he wasn't going to vote for her because, as he stated, he's a business owner. I'm a business owner also. He's a business owner and he didn't want to see the corporate tax rate raised, up to 28%. So he's doing the math and figuring out how much he'll take less than his take home. But what he's not understanding, what he didn't understand from what her proposal is, if you make over $400,000, okay, that's where the corporate tax rate hike would affect you. If you're under that, it's not going to affect you at all. It's not, the rate hike will not affect you. Okay. So, you got people that are so misinformed out here on so many different things. And the one thing I would say when this election is over is that there needs to be some serious education going on about how our government works. I see a lot of stuff on social media. We got people that don't understand foreign aid. That is voted on by Congress and the federal budget, before the fiscal year starts. Why are we sending money over to these other countries? Because it's already been approved. Okay. It's already been established that we would. And I get it. I understand the arguments that people make at times to our foreign policy and things that we do. And it doesn't mean we can't take care of our own American citizens here that are suffering. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying when people don't understand things like well, why are we giving this money to Israel? And you don't understand the historical aspect of how long the relationship has been with Israel. The first world leader to recognize Israel as a sovereign nation was Harry Truman. Okay. So this goes back to World War II. And if you don't understand this by now, then just do your research, please, to understand the relationship. And the one thing, this last thing I'll say, the one thing that people always forget when they're making their arguments about Israel is, again, you can argue both sides. I'm not here to tell you which side you should fall on or not. But I do want to point this out. Many people don't understand that when we've had these terroristic plots from a lot of nations, okay? And if you want to deal with specifically the Middle East, you know who's been the number one partner to the United States in intelligence about potential terroristic plots? It's Israel. So people forget that, when they're making their arguments about why do we support them? If you're going to be the world leader, you can't leave your allies behind. You can't ignore them. You can't just leave them be. And just people don't understand that. So I just want to leave with that. That last thing about just to point that out. Okay. And if you knew all the plots that are against us daily, hourly, you wouldn't leave your house. You wouldn't go on vacation anywhere. You wouldn't take a plane. You wouldn't do anything. Okay. If you knew daily, if they announced, well, this plot was stopped, this one was stopped, this one was planned, you wouldn't go anywhere. Okay. So please understand that there's a whole lot more to this than what's being discussed. And I'm just amazed at how little people know, not just about things like that, but just about how our government works.
Amen.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir. That was excellent.
It was excellent, Bobby. And we're going to have to, like you said, there's going to have to be some serious civics lessons going on. But
Civics,
also,
man.
also there is going to have to be some geography lessons, man. And if people understand geolocations and the importance of, where Israel sit, in the geographically, then they would also understand. But one thing I want to say, like, Bobby, when you talked about the whole McDonald's, I don't know, debacle or whatever you want to call it, but with them talking about trying to disprove that this lady worked at, when I say this lady, I'm talking about VP Harris, worked at McDonald's some 40 plus years ago, and that she's lying. And what their narrative of that is to bring back that old trope of, shiftless, lazy, lying black people. Let's just say what it is, They want to prove that she's a liar, and she gaggles and laughs. Even that's a trope from back in the day. It comes from that term. I don't know, you guys may have heard, how does it go? I might mess this up, but laughs in a barrel. If y'all have heard that terminology about laughing in a barrel or something like that.
Laughing in a barrel? I don't think I've heard that.
Because black people weren't able to laugh back in the day. Like, you had to literally turn around and put your face in a barrel and laugh. And a barrel of laughs, I think is what it. A barrel of laughs. Y'all ever heard? Yeah, that's
where that term comes from.
Yeah, man. You could not laugh. And so when people are like, why are they messing with her about laughing, and why are they bringing up this woman lied about working at McDonald's? And they say, well, we checked with McDonald's. Like, McDonald's going to give you somebody's employment record,
Right.
But it's the whole thing, Bobby. I'm telling you, it's that shiftless, lazy, lying trope, and also that laugh in a barrel of laughs thing where black people could not laugh openly because you could not show joy. So it's but again, we need civics, we need geography, but we also need history, because that's history. So we need a lot of stuff. We need to overhaul our entire school system, man. But Rodney, hey, close Bobby out, man. Thanks again, Bobby.
Thank you.
Bobby, we appreciate you coming, man. And have a great week. And it's just a couple days now before the general election, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, brothers, appreciate it. Everybody, stay vigilant. Please exercise your vote. Your vote is your voice. It matters. And I next time we talk, hopefully we'll be talking about the first female or the first black woman to be president of the United States. So,
amen.
That is my wish.
Absolutely. It won't happen before you and I talk, because I'll see you next week on
That's right.
Local Lookout with Rodney and Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Can't wait to see you, brother. I know you're bringing that fire. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Bobby. All right.
Thank you,
God
brothers.
bless.
Yep.
Be
God
well.
bless.
God bless.
Well, Rodney, we have a special guest tonight. Dr. Jonathan Leon is the Senior Director of Forward Promise. He's responsible for day-to-day operations and strategic direction of the initiative. Jonathan has more than a decade of experience in program development and operations, strategic advising and consulting, and communications in the social impact sector. He holds a master's degree in teaching from Georgia State University, a master's degree in public administration from Maxwell School at Syracuse University, and a doctorate in education policy and leadership from American University. And full disclosure, I'm an alumnus of Syracuse University undergrad, Whitman School of Management. Welcome.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Rodney, and thank you, Rodney. I really appreciate y'all having me on the Black Man's Roundtable. Excited for
So,
this conversation.
oh man, we're
Absolutely,
excited to have
man.
you. So,
Well,
Jonathan, tell
yeah.
us what you're going to talk to us
Welcome
about
to the
tonight.
program, brother. Go ahead, Rodney.
No, much appreciated, my brother. So, I'm here on a very to have a very timely conversation with us. And that's one around Black men and our participation in the political process. It is not by accident, it is by design that we're seeing this narrative right now around Black men and their participation. And first off, I just want to start off the conversation by sharing something that I heard our Senator Raphael Warnock share. And that rings true today is that, first off, Black people and Black men just are not a monolith. But I can tell you,
Right.
though, that since the 1970s, and definitely in recent history, we've been the number two strongest voting bloc for Democrats. So I'm concerned around this narrative right now, around this blame, really basing a whole lot of misinformation to our constituency specifically, and how that is meant to do harm to the margins. That's really what this election is going to be decided by. It's going to be these margins. So I'm here tonight because regardless of a collective plan for us and by us, it's clear that the Republicans and the right definitely have a plan. They've named it. We were foolish enough to uh, put it on the internet, Project 2025. And it's very, very clear that in this conversation today, I'm hoping that we cut through some of this noise, some of this misinformation and disinformation to have a real conversation about the things that matter to us and our families and communities. So I appreciate again y'all having me here.
So tell
Yes, sir.
me, what is this whole dynamic of young Black men saying, I'm going to vote for the Republican nominee because he gave me a check? What is this all? Is that the major reason that we're hearing this from this crowd? And are they serious voters?
And that's a part of like what the conversation really needs to be around. What voices are being amplified? The events and spaces that I'm in, the folks that I'm talking to, they aren't sharing this story. But again, it is by design that we're hearing these sound bites and that media has us really wrapped up in this narrative around Black folks participating in this election and voting at the rates in which they typically do for Democrat candidates versus what the truth is here on the ground. Our folks know that our civil rights are on the ballot. When we hear things like the Department of Education being dismantled, like we know that that means Black and brown folks will be left out from all those Title I dollars. We know that the student loans and the debt that we've received going to get this higher education is going to be left behind. We know that things like Medicare and insulin and drug prices for our for the folks that we are now really around my age group responsible for taking care of, like our parents and grandparents. We know that that's all being impacted, and ultimately we know that our kids and their future and their choices of rights are being impacted. And those are the types of conversations that I'm having with folks that I'm talking to. And really, the people and the energy in the spaces doesn't reflect what I'm seeing on the media. So when I see that, and I know that working in the space, I understand how a narrative can be put out and pushed and how that can really mess with folks' confidence. Because ultimately, there's a lot of political scientists that get into this a lot of times, particularly with Black folks. They show up and will show out, especially if they think their candidate is winning, right? So again, we got to look at some of this conversation that's being drummed up, some of this support that is being drummed up artificially. We know who runs the major social media network X.
Okay.
and how,
Okay.
algorithms play into a lot of this.
Okay.
Misinformation around what you do see, what you don't see around the policies that work for you, and how those messages are getting to folks, and really what message is getting out is a part of, one of the things that we really want to shift.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Jonathan, I'll
So
I'll be the go ahead, Rodney, go ahead.
no, you go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'll be the first to say that that I've warned the Democratic Party about kind of I don't know, just kind of marginalizing black men. Okay,
Absolutely.
that is a thing. We can't ignore it.
Absolutely.
That is a thing where the Democratic Party has definitely marginalized and minimized black men. But I don't think that before this process even started, before this election season even started, I said, this election cycle will not they're black the Democratic Party are going to lose black men. I told that directly to the Democratic Party, but they're not going to lose black men significantly enough to make a difference. They would need to lose
Absolutely.
anywhere between 2 to 3%, because black men only make up 2 or 3% of the electorate anyway when it comes down to Democrats. But to lose 2 or 3% of that, can start
Uh, yeah, around the you're talking about around the margins.
say yes. What I did say is that in future elections, it could happen, right? But
Mhm.
Mhm.
what I'm seeing, and Jonathan, you can definitely, Dr. Leon, you can definitely, opine on this. But what I think I'm seeing with this election cycle, with these polls and everything is so even and all this stuff, is that I think I'm seeing a scapegoat for white women who are really going to be the ones that makes a difference in this election on how they vote. But it's like they're trying to have a scapegoat for black men, and that's what I'm seeing kind of set up. Could you opine on that, Dr. Leon, for me?
No, absolutely. I mean, let's talk about the numbers. So, first off, black men just writ large, 6% of the population of the entire country. You just gave a number on the
Right.
3% of the actual voting population in that metric. So, yes, our votes matter and our votes do count, because again, a lot of this is going to be done on and in the margins. We turn out high in larger cities and sit in places that we're at. We know that it will likely go to Madam Vice President will become the president. We also know if that turnout gets depressed, then the numbers in which they're counting on the suburban vote, particularly white women, particularly college educated white folks just across the board to show up, needs to bump up. And right now, you're seeing kind of both those plays from each side working
Mhm.
to how can one turn some of these suburban voters or maybe these independent voters their way,
Mhm.
versus how can we knock down some of the turnout that we've seen just historically, right? We have lived through some very just interesting times. And the turnout that we're seeing across these elections has been historic across the board. So when I hear conversations around scapegoating and scapegoat and who's to blame, like the numbers absolutely will show and point to, we white white folks make up the majority of this electorate, and that's both across college age, young, like it doesn't matter. They're the majority of the elected. So ultimately, with that voting power, right, like more blame should be placed at their feet. But we just know historically, right, the country has and will continue to until we begin to push back, and this is where we can definitely have some conversation around the dehumanization of black folks,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
just what that having to be a scapegoat then allows systems and structures to happen to us as opposed to us happening to systems and structures. And my push and my goal with folks within the party, I said a bit about this. Until we are working towards a policy agenda and a program that's for us by us, then let's continue to hold the people in office accountable to the things that they say that they are going to do. Right, our votes are earned just like everyone else's votes are earned. It is just happened that this party has done the closest job to what we would consider a more equal opportunity. Right, the word
Mhm.
behind me is equity. because I do
Mm-hmm.
believe that, we are old within this country for the amount of blood, sweat, tears that we've put into building this superpower of a nation, the opportunity to start at the same starting line as everyone else. And that's just not the case right now. So my goal and my push in every conversation that I'm having with folks is not only, all right, are we going to turn out this vote? Not only are we going to support and ensure that we're bringing, two, three people with us to the polls, we're staying on our younger mentees, younger cousins, family
Mm-hmm.
members, because again, all like our community, right, and the future of our communities are on the line, and Black folks know that, and they will show up just as they have been showing up. But ultimately, when we do show up, we need to talk about how we're going to hold folks accountable to the policy decisions that they've called out for our communities, and that's always been a missing piece. When it comes down to election season, folks are definitely asking for the vote, but they're not ready oftentimes for that pushback to come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So who do we hold accountable to the platform or the promises that need to be kept once this election is over?
For me, it's top to bottom. So it is not, and I heard a bit in the segment before, just a conversation around civics. It's so
Mm-hmm.
important because when we think about just our daily lives, the
Mm-hmm.
school board member that lives around the corner from you has a lot more power and has a lot more influence on your community than oftentimes what the Congress is able to do, oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
what the presidency is able to do. But we spend
Mm-hmm.
so much time focused on those two offices that we forget things like judges. We forget things like
Mm-hmm.
district attorneys. We forget that our
Mm-hmm.
city councilors who are in these same stores shopping with us, folks that we can normally get to a whole lot faster than we can those on the federal level, are the people who are really making decisions on things like zoning, on things like
Mm-hmm.
density, on things like transportation that are really touching and impacting our lives. So it really starts honestly at the local level. When we move to that federal level, you really want to talk about how you're building people power, right?
Mm-hmm.
How am I
Mm-hmm.
telling the stories of my within my community around the issues that we care about, and how do we take that power and then ultimately create some policy change? You got to do that through organizing. You got to do that through advocacy. We can't just stop our million meetups during election season. We got to keep that movement and that action going because that's the only way that and if we look historically, that's the only way that things have changed, when people come together to demand that change.
That's true. That's
Dr.
true.
Leon, I remind people across this Black Man's Roundtable platform that all politics is local. I say it every single chance I get, brother, that, look, excuse me, do we need to worry about the Supreme Court? Do we need to worry about Congress and the president? Yes. But it's the local executive branch, it's the local legislative branch, it's the
Absolutely.
local judicial branch that affects, he got caught up with an ounce of weed that he was definitely going to smoke and not distribute, and you got this local judge throwing him in jail that you didn't even pay attention to, as far as voting for that local judge or getting him out of here. But also, your city council and your county commission, these people are going to make decisions that are going to affect how your community look, smell, taste, everything,
Absolutely.
and they're going to make these decisions on Thursday, and you're going to see on Wednesday, the Wednesday of the next week, you already see the impact of the decisions they made. But Congress may make a decision today that it'll take you 3 years to see that. So
Right.
I do remind people, Dr. Leon, every chance I get across this platform and when I'm out there in them streets, man, is that all politics is local.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you have any closing comments that you would like to leave
I
with us,
just
Dr.
want
Leon?
to I want to continue to encourage all of us to remember what's on the ballot in this election. When we think about the opportunity for Medicare and Medicaid expansion to allow for our elderly parents to be cared for by home taking, have that taken care of the government, something that we know is a major, major, major cost hindrance across this country. When we think about reproductive justice and just the fact that if they can tell women what to do with their bodies, what makes you think they can't come back and tell black, brown
Who's
men
next?
what to do with their bodies, right? when we think about the opportunity to really open up pathways, when we talk about legalizing marijuana, us actually getting rid of some of these archaic rules. We got half of the country running one way, another half of the country running another way when it comes to so many social policies. And we need a way and we need a method to start to put some checks and balances in place at that federal level. So not only is my vote that I'm casting for me, it's one for my family, and it's certainly one for my community.
Thank you. How does one reach you, Dr. Leon, if they'd like to follow up with you or to be a guest speaker or get your input?
Absolutely. You can find me at John Leon ATL. It's JONLEON ATL on all platforms.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your input.
Thank
Dr.
y'all for
Leon,
having
it
me
was a
once again.
pleasure, brother.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. All right, Rodney. And then there were two.
Yes, sir.
But yeah,
Rodney and
Dr.
Rodney.
Leon, yep, Dr. Leon, he brought it, man. And it's crunch time. It is crunch time.
Yes, sir.
And it's time for all these games, to stop. And one of the things that I want to add to that conversation, well, to both Dr. Leon and Bobby's conversation, is that, Rodney, other people, other than those of us who were brought here in, our ancestors brought here in the hull of ships, people get to play around with their vote and all this silliness that Donald Trump is doing, like it's a game. Everything is a game. It's like, the good old boys or the locker room crap and all that stuff. I'm going to say it like this, man. We don't have the luxury to play with our vote like these other people do. We don't have an opportunity. We don't have the luxury to to just play around. We've always had to vote for our lives. Every single vote is very serious to us when we vote in this country.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Well, I appreciated the conversation. So we got hot topics. I
Yep.
got one for you. I don't know if you ready for this, but this is a retrospect.
Let me brace myself.
This is a retrospect to you having me on as a guest talking about reparations, the first
Yes,
show
sir.
that I was on.
Yes, sir.
You know that I'm a descendant of the Tulsa Greenwood Massacre on my father's side. Well, I'm also a member of the Justice for Greenwood Foundation. Attorney Solomon Simmons is the director. And we have had this case in court through the appeals process and lost. We've been working on this for over 10 years.
I heard
and
about
we
it.
lost.
Yep.
Our last hope. There were 2 survivors left, 105, 103 years old. And they wanted to have this resolved before they left this planet. So there was a push afoot, and I got to thank Congressman Hank Johnson from Schenectady
Yep.
for being a supporter of this initiative and effort. And the congressman from Texas, come to me in a moment, senior moment, were able to get the Justice Department to open up an inquiry and investigation. The press conference was last week. So the Justice Department has assigned a Assistant Attorney General in charge of that unit, the unit that's investigating this, to have a report done by December. So they're taking testimony, they're looking over the records from the Justice for Greenwood Foundation that they've accumulated over the years, the court case that they were fighting for, and the injustice of it all. So I want to thank the Biden-Harris administration for hearing our plea. I want to thank the congressional members who stepped up and have been fighting for this for us on our behalf that don't even live in Oklahoma, that are part of the Black Caucus, so Congressional Black Caucus. So I wanted to put that on the table. That's my hottest topic that I could come up with. Couldn't wait to share it with you because this has been a journey.
Yeah, I heard about that this week, and of course I thought of you, and I was like, man, should we do an actual, kind of a special roundtable, on this all together, and so, but yeah, But yeah, man, that's some important stuff. It's a lot of stuff going on.
Right. Well, if you want to do that, I will reach out to Attorney Solomon Simmons, and since we can do this virtually, I will get him on as a guest, and he can tell us the story. He's been fighting since he's been a young attorney.
Yeah, and I think, of course, something of that nature. Of course, we will wait until election and everything, so that way
Oh yeah,
we
after the
won't
election, absolutely.
take it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm also letting the people know, because I know what's going to happen. I'm gonna
Right.
get these DMs about when it's going to happen.
All
When
right.
it's going to happen? Yeah.
What's gonna
I'm
happen?
already thinking ahead. So
I got you, bro.
yeah, I'm already thinking ahead, because I know what's going to happen. All right, Rodney, we're going to move to our spotlight.
Oh, my brother, my
I
brother.
think we have our last project
Yes, sir.
2025. Yes, sir.
2025. Workforce.
Yep.
My brother, my brother. Yeah, I got a few more gray hairs. You keep giving me these assignments, bro. Well, let me give you a quick overview.
Yes, sir.
Project 2025 would enable corporations to cut overtime pay, relax worker safety rules, and allow workplace discrimination and more. How they do it? Let's see, how are they going to do this? They're going to stop people from earning overtime pay. Project 2025 wants the Department of Labor to make it harder for people to earn overtime pay. So that's a rule that doesn't require legislation. It's a rule. And you're talking about breaking unions, because that's one of the major issues that unions have included to protect their workers and to get a fair wage. How they do it? Another way: cut funding for local job creation programs. Project 2025 proposes to destroy a program that plays a pivotal role in facilitating transformative economic growth for local economies. EDA was responsible for investing billions of ARP dollars into the transformative infrastructure projects across the nation, and invested in resulting in 220,000 jobs, generating nearly 20 billion in private investment. How would they do it? Manipulate data that businesses rely on to keep our economy functioning by consolidating the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the Census Bureau, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Project 2025 would kneecap the data collection capacities of these important agencies, with effects felt by working people across the nation. So, we're in those, most of our folks are in those jobs that would be affected by this.
That's right.
No question. How would they do this? They're going to weaken child labor law protections. Project 2025 would amend hazard regulations to allow employers to put young people in unsafe working conditions. Man, this is taking us back, bro. This is just unbelievable, man. But that's the quick overview of the major points that worried me about this whole change in the workforce that are proposed in Project 2025. It's an anti-worker platform. I don't know if they plan on having robots replace all these jobs, so this won't be an issue. I don't know, but it's definitely going to affect our community.
Right, and I think that they go as far back as just doing away with child labor laws, man. We have to. I know we think about this stuff like, oh, we can't go back like that. It can happen, I don't even understand. For instance, yes, the Biden. I mean, I'm sorry, the Harris Walz campaign got a lot of support from unions, from the unions throughout the country, but but there was a lot of individual union members that went against what their particular unions did. There has been no other administration to support unions the way the Biden-Harris administration has been.
That's correct.
That's just another there's just another metric right there that lets you know that people are voting against their interests and voting for some of the strangest reasons, in history. And so, but yeah, they want for everybody to be, they want for all the states, man, to just get away, be a not have unions and to not have collective bargaining and all of this. But also, we know that they also as fairest work environments that you can work in America is the federal government, the federal jobs, and that is why you see so many people of color working in these federal jobs. And I'm gonna tell you, there are people, this as well as I do, Rodney. There are people who go into look at some of these federal jobs, TSA jobs, and others. TSA is very, very, you can see them because you're in these airports. Most federal workers you don't see, right? But unless you got to go to a federal courthouse and that kind of stuff, or military bases and other things like that. But you see the diversity, and some people don't like that diversity, and they want to do away with that.
That's right. That's right. That's what we're facing, my friend. It's an anti-worker, anti-labor movement, because of who's sponsoring the major party candidates on the other side of the aisle. That's what's happening.
The
It's
money and the money
oligarchs, my
behind and
brother.
the money behind that stuff.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. But in order to, I think, to put this country where it should be, we need to rebuild the middle class. Absolutely. I think that the decisions that were made during the Reagan administration with this supply side economics and trickle down economics has not worked. It's transferred wealth from the middle class to a few hands, and I don't think that's right. There was a time in this country where the wealthy industrialists opened their checkbooks to keep this country going during a war. But we don't have that kind of patriotism amongst the wealthy now. Matter of fact, it's been indicated earlier, some of the media is controlled by folks that I don't think are very democratic.
Yeah, and I think some of the reasons that it's worked over time is because you say, well, why does it, how does it work? How is it working that that trickle down economics and all that kind of stuff, right? When people know that they don't have that kind of money, they're not the rich, they're not the upper class. But it works because it sells. It doesn't work. It sells because there are people in this country who know that selling dreams work, and just to make you believe that you can aspire to this, even though they know you're never going to aspire to that because they know the policies won't allow you to do it. But it's that, and I think that's happening a lot today, Rodney. It's that, oh, I can be like Elon. I can be like I can have that money like Donald and Elon and all this stuff. It's not the case. But selling that pipe dream, man, it works. Yeah,
I hear you, my brother.
Yeah, it
Well,
definitely
great
works.
show tonight.
Yeah, good show,
Always
man.
great to chop it up with you, my brother.
Yeah, as always. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, and when we come back, the next episode will be after the election for the
That's right.
for the roundup. So
Yes, sir.
I hope that I hope that we're talking in good spirit.
Yes,
I
sir.
I'm not going to ask you, your predictions unless you want to, unless you want to state those. But here's what I will tell you, that what I believe is going to happen, Rodney. Like I stated earlier, I do believe that there is a certain sense of trying to set up a scapegoat for black men. I have never heard black men being talked about as far as the electorate ever in all of the years of following politics. And I was following politics before I could, well, I was about to say before I could grow a mustache, but I was one of those guys that could grow a mustache at like 13 or something, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, but I've never seen it like this. And I'm like, what is going on? Oh, okay. You're trying to maybe have a scapegoat. However, we know that black men are not going to make or break this race for the Democratic Party. We know that's not going to happen, right? Black men are going to vote their same level slightly, less than what they used to, but not enough to make or break the election for Democrats, that is, and not enough to help Republicans.
No,
Um,
I don't see that.
no, but I just think that if everybody, especially white women, yes, this is a black man's round table. We're not afraid to say white. We're not afraid to say black or Hispanic or anything else. I believe that if white women vote their conscience, okay, and I believe my mom always told me, God gave everybody a conscience. And so I just believe that if they vote their conscience and they're not doing this 52 and 54, 52, I think they voted for 54% for Donald Trump in 16. Don't quote me on these. And I think they voted 52% for him in
20.
in 20. Yeah, in 20. Let's just say if they go on that current track, 54, 52, well, let's say 50. If they vote for him 50%, if white women vote for Donald Trump 50%, Donald Trump is going to win. If they don't, if they start dropping below 47, Donald Trump is going to lose in a landslide. So I really do believe that people are going to, do the right thing this time. I think the games are over. I think that there's just been enough damage done. This guy is definitely have some cognition issues going on. He's got a bunch of stuff going on with him personally. I can't say professionally because the man has never been professional. But I can't, Rodney. I just can't, man.
I know what you mean.
But so my prediction is that people are going to vote their conscience, and I just believe that I believe that if nothing get held up in these states, I'm glad that a judge in Georgia has done what he's done to say we don't have to count these paper ballots like that.
Amen.
I believe that this thing is going to be called for Kamala on for the Harris Walz campaign on November the 5th. And if shenanigans happen, okay, then it'll be called November the 6th for them as well. But I believe it might be a blowout landslide. I really do. These polls, they don't make sense to me. They've integrated a whole bunch of crazy right wing polls that they never allowed in, and so that's my 2 cents, Rodney.
Polls don't vote. Polls
Exactly.
don't vote.
Exactly.
I think the energy is on the ground. I believe that the campaign has a strong ground game. There are other organizations that are nonpartisan that are just pushing folks to vote, assisting them on how to vote, that are not endorsing any candidates. So there's a big push in that respect. I just like to say this in closing to our audience. In 2111, the year 2111, not until then will we, as descendants of slavery, be free in this country longer than we were enslaved. We were enslaved people.
Right.
2111. Not until then will we have been in this country free longer than we were enslaved. I don't think people understand that this is not that far in the past.
That's right.
And these policies they're talking about are trying to take us back to slavery without chains. And I think black men need to understand that this is bigger than a male or female issue of a candidate. This is about your survival in this country, your family, your relatives, and this country. We are Americans first. Remember that.
And for those that don't like my prediction or whatever and say, whoa, well, that's going to not motivate people to go and vote. First of all, I'm not that important. That's number one. Okay. And number two, this is people to be straight up. And number two, they're trying to create on the other side. They're trying to create of bandwagon, jump on the winning team. Jump on the bandwagon, especially with black men in particular, right? Get on the winning team, get on the bandwagon, right? And I'm letting, so I'm saying, no, that's not a winning ticket. That's not a winning team. Don't get on the bandwagon. Don't get on the bandwagon. And so I believe it's going to be, a landslide. But the only way it can be a landslide and decided, in the way that I believe is that if you get out and vote, if you vote early to make sure that your vote counts. But otherwise, it won't be a landslide or anything else, because Rodney, you and I have seen, we have had people right here on this platform who we know that they only won their election by single digit votes over local local elections. Only 2 or 3,000 people voted, but yet it came down to 8-9 people. So yes, your vote counts. Your vote counts.
Yes,
and remember, all politics is local. Rodney, been a good show, man. You had an outstanding guest on. I know we're going to have an outstanding guest on next week. I don't have who that is in front of me right now, but either way, we're going to keep rolling, and you can wrap it up if you want to, Rodney.
Oh yeah. So our next show is the second Thursday of November, and the one after that is the fourth Thursday of November. We're on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. So until next time, we'll keep rounding them up with Rodney and Rodney.
Peace.
Peace out.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.
1,